Imagine the sun dipping low over the Aegean Sea, casting a golden hue on the bustling port of Miletus. It's around 610 BCE, a time when the world is alive with the hum of trade ships coming from Egypt, Phoenicia and beyond. Merchants shout deals in a babel of tongues, philosophers wander the agora debating the nature of water and fire, and a child is born who will forever change how we see the universe. That child is Anaximander, son of Praxiades, destined to become one of the greatest thinkers of antiquity, a man whose ideas would echo through the ages, from Aristotle to Einstein. But who was this enigmatic figure? In an era where myths intertwined with reality, Anaximander stood as a bridge between the gods and the gears of reason. He wasn't just a philosopher. He was a visionary, a cartographer, a scientist before the word existed. His life, though shrouded in the mists of time, offers a tale of curiosity unbound, a story that deserves to be pulled from the shadows and thrust into the spotlight of modern consciousness. For if we forget Anaximander, we forget the roots of our own quest to understand the stars, the earth, and the very essence of existence. Let me take you on this journey, not as a dry recitation of facts, but as a living narrative. One could even say, a story, woven with the threads of history, imagination, and wonder. We'll explore his beginnings in the vibrant cradle of Ionian thought, his early life shaped by mentors and mysteries, and his groundbreaking accomplishments that laid the foundations for Western philosophy and science. By the end, you'll see why Anaximander isn't just a name in dusty tomes. He's the spark that ignited humanity's boundless pursuit of knowledge. Our story begins in Miletus, a jewel of the ancient world nestled on the western coast of Anatolia, what we now call Turkey. In the 7th century BCE, Miletus wasn't some sleepy village. It was a thriving metropolis, a crossroads of cultures where Greek ingenuity met Eastern wisdom. Ships loaded with spices, silks and ideas docked daily, fostering an environment ripe for intellectual revolution. It was here, amid the olive groves and marble temples, that Anaximander entered the world around 611 BCE, though some sources pin it to 610, the exact date lost to the sands of time. Little is known about his family, but we know that his father was Praxiades, likely a man of means in this prosperous city. Miletus was part of the Ionian League, a confederation of Greek city-states that prized freedom of thought over rigid dogma. During that period, the air was filled with questions that demanded an answer. Why do earthquakes shake the ground? What makes the stars wheel across the sky? These weren't idle musings, they were the seeds of philosophy, sown in a soil fertilized by trade and travel. Anaximander's beginnings were humble yet privileged. As a boy, he would have roamed the harbors, watching sailors spin tales of distant lands, stories of the Nile's floods, the Babylonian ziggurats reaching for the heavens, the vast deserts of Persia. These narratives weren't mere entertainment, they were windows to a wider world, challenging the parochial views of isolated tribes. Imagine young Anaximander, wide-eyed and tousle-haired, sketching crude maps in the dirt with a stick, tracing the outlines of coasts he'd never seen but dreamed of exploring. The city itself was a teacher. Miletus boasted one of the earliest urban planning systems, with grid-like streets that spoke to an orderly mind. Temples to Apollo and Athena dotted the landscape, but unlike the myth-bound Athenians of later centuries, the Milesians leaned toward rational inquiry. They traded not just goods but knowledge, importing Egyptian geometry and Chaldean astronomy. It was in this melting pot that Anaximander's intellect began to form, like clay on a potter's wheel, shaped by the hands of destiny. But no beginning is complete without a mentor, and for Anaximander that was Thales, the father of Western philosophy. Thales, born around 624 BCE, was a polymath, engineer, mathematician, astronomer. Legend has it he predicted a solar eclipse in 585 BCE, stunning the warring Lydians and Medes into peace. He posited that water was the fundamental substance of all things, and at the time this was a radical idea that shifted thought from gods to natural causes. Anaximander, perhaps in his teens when he met Thales, became his pupil and successor. Picture the scene. An old man and a young apprentice, strolling the beach at dusk. Thales pointing to the waves and declaring, "From this comes all life." Anaximander, absorbing every word, nods, but inwardly questions. Water? Why not something more profound? Something without limit? This mentorship wasn't formal schooling. It was dialogue, debate, the Socratic method before Socrates. Thales taught him to observe the world empirically, to measure shadows for the solstice, to chart the Nile's inundations as clues to cosmic patterns. Yet Anaximander's beginnings weren't without peril. Miletus, for all its glory, was a pawn in greater games. The Persians loomed on the horizon, their empire expanding like a shadow. Political intrigues simmered, and thinkers like Anaximander had to navigate the treacherous waters of patronage and exile. Some scholars speculate he travelled widely, perhaps to Egypt or Babylon, gathering data for his later works. These journeys, real or imagined, infused his thoughts with a global perspective, making him not just a Greek thinker, but a citizen of the cosmos. As he grew, Anaximander's mind expanded beyond the visible. He rejected the anthropomorphic gods of Homer, seeking instead a unified principle behind the chaos. His beginnings in Miletus, that fertile ground of inquiry, set the stage for a life dedicated to unraveling the universe's secrets. But to understand the man, we must delve into his early life, the formative years that forged a philosopher from a boy. Anaximander's early life unfolds like a Greek hero story, minus the gods and monsters, though his ideas were monstrously innovative for their time. By his 20s, around 590 BCE, he had emerged as a prominent figure in Miletus's intellectual circle. No longer just Thales' shadow, he was carving his own path, writing what would become the first prose work in Western philosophy, On Nature. Sadly, only fragments survived, preserved in later authors like Aristotle and Theophrastus, but those shards gleam with brilliance. Life in early Miletus was a blend of commerce and contemplation. Anaximander likely supported himself through trade or public office. Some accounts suggest he was a statesman, advising on colonial ventures. Miletus founded dozens of colonies across the Black Sea and Mediterranean, and Anaximander's geographical interests may have stemmed from these expeditions. Imagine him poring over sailors' logs, interviewing explorers about far-flung shores, piecing together a puzzle of the known world. His early education drew from diverse sources. From Thales he learned mathematics, geometry for land measurement, arithmetic for commerce. But Anaximander pushed further, applying numbers to the heavens. He observed the seasons, noting how the sun's path shifted, leading to his invention of the gnomon, a sundial-like device for tracking solstices and equinoxes. This wasn't mere timekeeping, it was the dawn of scientific instrumentation. Influences poured in from abroad. Egyptian priests with their millennia-old star charts inspired his astronomy. Babylonian astronomers, masters of celestial prediction, fueled his cosmological theories. Even Eastern philosophies, whispers of yin and yang or the Vedic infinite, might have echoed in his concept of the apeiron. Anaximander's early life was a sponge, absorbing these ideas and synthesizing them into something uniquely Greek, rational and systematic. But what did young Anaximander look like? Bearded, perhaps, in the fashion of the time, clad in a simple chiton, his eyes sharp and inquisitive. He wasn't ascetic. Philosophy then was communal, debated in symposia over wine and olives. Friends like Anaximenes, his eventual successor, joined these gatherings, forming the Milesian school, a trio of thinkers who sought natural explanations for phenomena. Challenges marked his early years. The death of Thales around 545 BCE left Anaximander as the school's leader, a role he embraced with vigor. However, political turmoil started to brew. Croesus of Lydia fell to Cyrus the Great in 546 BCE, bringing Persian rule closer. Some say Anaximander led a colony to Apollonia on the Black Sea, perhaps to escape or expand militant influence. This venture honed his practical skills like navigation and surveying, which all fed into his cartographic genius. Emotionally, his early life must have been a whirlwind of awe and doubt, witnessing an earthquake, common in the region. He thought of it as not divine wrath but as a natural process. A storm at sea might have sparked thoughts on meteorological cycles. These experiences weren't abstract. They were visceral, driving him to question, why does the world work this way? His early writings reflect this, a poetic prose that blended observation with speculation. By his 30s, Anaximander had solidified his worldview. He rejected Thales' water as arche first principle, arguing it couldn't explain opposites like hot and cold. Instead, he proposed the apeiron, the boundless, eternal source from which all arises and returns. This was revolutionary, not a god, not an element, but an abstract infinite. His early life, steeped in diversity, taught him that truth lay beyond the tangible, in the realm of ideas. As we transition to his accomplishments, remember, Anaximander's early years weren't just preparation. They were the forge where curiosity became conviction. From a young boy on the beach to a master thinker, he embodied the human drive to know. Now we reach the heart of our tale, Anaximander's accomplishments, the beacons that illuminate his legacy. By midlife around 570 to 550 BCE, he had matured into a thinker whose ideas spanned cosmology, biology, geography, and metaphysics. First, the idea of the apeiron, his biggest philosophical success. Anaximander posited that the universe's origin wasn't a specific substance, like water or air, but the apeiron, the boundless, indefinite, eternal. Imagine it as an infinite reservoir, neither hot nor cold, wet nor dry, from which opposites emerge through a process of separation. From the boundless, he wrote in fragment, come the heavens and the worlds within them. But where are the origins of all this? Anaximander observed nature's cycles, birth and death, summer and winter, and saw justice in balance. Things pay penalty and retribution to one another for their injustice according to the assessment of time, he said. The apeiron ensures this equilibrium, preventing any one element from dominating forever. This wasn't mysticism, it was proto-physics, anticipating conservation laws in modern science. Einstein's relativity, with its curved spacetime, echoes this infinite underpinning. In cosmology, Anaximander was a pioneer. He envisioned the Earth as a short cylinder or drum, floating freely at the universe's center, unsupported. No atlas holding it up, no ocean beneath, just symmetry. The Earth stays aloft, he argued, because of its equal distance from everything. Radical. He described the heavens as wheels of fire enclosed in mist, with holes revealing stars, sun and moon, like vents in a cosmic lantern. He calculated celestial sizes, the sun as large as Earth, the moon's orbit 19 times Earth's radius, inaccurate by today's standards but groundbreaking at the time. He explained eclipses as blockages in these vents, thunderstorms as windbursts, earthquakes as Earth cracking from dryness or moisture. These were natural explanations, stripping away superstition. Picture him demonstrating this with models, perhaps clay earth and wooden rings, captivating audiences in the agora. Biology was another frontier. Anaximander theorized life's origins in the moist, warm seas, where the first creatures formed from slime heated by the sun. Fish-like beings emerged, and over time humans evolved from them. Man was born from animals of another species, he claimed, noting infants' helplessness required a watery womb. This pre-Darwinian evolution, humans from fish, was astonishing, linking life to cosmic processes. The apeiron birthed opposites, leading to diversity. Geography crowned his practical feat. Anaximander drew the first known world map, a bronze tablet depicting the inhabited world, oikumene. Centered on the Aegean, it showed Europe, Asia, Libya, Africa, as roughly equal continents surrounded by Oceanus. Rivers like the Nile and Phasis marked boundaries. Though simplistic, Earth as a disk, it incorporated traveler reports, advancing cartography. Hecataeus later refined it, but Anaximander started the tradition. He also invented tools, the gnomon for time and seasons, perhaps a spherical model of heavens. Some credit him with introducing the sundial from Babylon, adapting it for Greek use. Politically, his achievements extended to society. As a possible colonizer of Apollonia, he applied philosophy to governance, promoting harmony akin to cosmic justice. His work on nature influenced Pythagoras, Heraclitus, and beyond, seeding atomism and empiricism. Anaximander's life ended, around 547 BCE, perhaps in his 60s. No dramatic death tale survives, just a quiet fade, like the setting sun he studied. But his accomplishments endure time, a true testament to boundless curiosity. As our story draws to an end, let's reflect on Anaximander's legacy. In antiquity, he inspired the Milesian school. His friend, Anaximenes, built on his ideas with air as arche, the root of all things. Both Plato and Aristotle critiqued his work, but ended up borrowing from it, while Aristotle praised his abstract thinking. The Hellenistic era spread his cosmology via Alexandria's library. Romans like Pliny echoed his biology. In the Middle Ages, Arabic scholars preserved fragments, influencing thinkers from the Islamic Golden Age. The Renaissance rediscovered him through translations, fueling Copernicus's heliocentrism, the Earth floating freely, just as Anaximander said. Today, his apeiron resonates in Big Bang Theory's singularity, quantum fields infinity. His evolution prefigures Darwin, his map GPS. Philosophers hail him as the first metaphysician, scientists as proto-empiricist. In a world of division, we should never forget our roots and the great strive for science and truth. His rejection of dogma encourages skepticism. By remembering Anaximander, we honor the human spirit's quest for knowledge and curiosity, ensuring his light isn't forgotten. As Anaximander, that boy on Miletus's shore, we are all just dreaming about the wonder which is life. If you enjoyed this story through history, then please subscribe and press the like button. Otherwise, stay curious. Until our next story through history's greatest minds.